What's up everyone, my name is Elo Bandit and today I have a very special video. I have three wonderful guests, Dom, LRXC, and Crucify. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Good.
What's up?
I agree with Dom.
Fantastic. Today we're going to be talking about ORAS. I'm sure a lot of people, it's been a while since they've played Gen 6. What should someone expect jumping back into that metagame?
I mean, I would say there's very little that's actually stayed the same, really. Like, Black's role has changed. Gyarados was top 3 Mons in the tier before, arguably, and now is arguably A+ rank. Art is number 1 by an absolutely insane margin, I'd say. Ability-wise, X and Y. And Y was very uncommon on the ladder, but it's been seeing some tournament use and ladder use because just got an ORAS Ladder for the month. And there's a ladder tour, which basically means that ladder was active as heck, and there's a lot of new stuff being used and a lot of just different dynamics because traditionally after the gen ended, it was just played in best of 5s and tournaments on Smogon and stuff. Once there's a ladder, I feel like the ladder tournament dynamic is very, very different.
Oh yeah, for sure. I noticed a very, very, different atmosphere playing ladder versus playing tournaments. It's a very grind-heavy mindset rather than a very careful, specialized mindset, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yes, for sure.
I feel like this little ORAS Ladder Tour has me reevaluating myself as, I used to be just totally a ladder player, and I didn't play any tours at all. And then I started playing more and more tours, and now when I jump on ladder, the feeling of losing one game and losing all that elo is not made up for by winning. You guys know that feeling when you win the whole bunch and you lose one and you're like, oh well, all that work is gone. I feel like that doesn't happen as much in tours because you can drop 2 games and still just win the series with no consequences. It's definitely a very different mindset, grinding up a ladder versus preparing for and playing best of 5s.
Yeah, you can't really get away. You can't really get away with using a quirky text that will maybe work once in a tournament match because you just replay the same person on ladder. And
it's a weird.
You could do that so much in old gens because there's not a ladder meta for pretty much all 1v1 old gens, and now it's different with ORAS now having an active, at least very active during the LT cycles ladder where it's what actually is good and consistent.
And it's a weird thing when you're teching someone on the ladder because it's okay, congrats, you just got 20 elo. Then you fight them next game and you don't know if they're gonna try to outplay your tech, gonna try to brute force it and just
bring a new team.
Bring a new team. You don't know if they're gonna just click the same mod that got baited before. There's really no way to know. It's really annoying. And there's also the dynamic of on certain hours it'd be oh, you match with someone who is 100 elo below you. Then you would either gain 8 points or lose 30. Oh.
I just took a screenshot. I accidentally was AFK. I was searching for a match on the ORAS ladder for about 10 minutes, and I guess I just left to get water or something. And I came back, and I saw that I had found a match and lost to timer, and I lost 40 points. And I was what? This is why. It's tough when you maintain a 75% win rate and you go down in elo. It's yeah. Honestly, I think at this point GXC is a better indicator of skill than elo.
Yeah, for sure. But what I was gonna say was, Ladder Tour was so hard. It was so competitive. There's so many tryhards playing. It's I like ladder when it's the tryhard to non-tryhard ratio is really low, but when it's only tryhards, it's dude, how do you outpick 10 tryhards in a row? It's pretty easy to at best go even, I feel or maybe 6-4 or something. But then that doesn't even necessarily mean you're gonna have plus elo. You can go 6-4 and lose elo because you lose to the wrong people, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ladder Tour was really brutal. I tryharded for cycle 3 and got up to like the top 2, and I was like, all right, that's pretty good. I'll play a couple more games. I won 2 more games and went to sleep. And then I woke up and I was passed by people in another time zone. Oh well, it happens. Yeah, I didn't ladder for cycle 4. Probably should.
Cycle 4 was pretty interesting. It was like the least interesting last like 45 minutes, because the last 45 minutes for every other cycle was actually crazy. There's like graph went from like 1,000 elo to like 1,400 elo or whatever. You know, it's just cool stuff.
I think it's really difficult to qualify if you're not playing in the last 45 minutes.
Oh, for sure, it's almost impossible.
It's like
unless you're
someone's gonna streak above you. Like they're like one person is gonna get like it's very, very difficult. So yeah, learn from my mistake. Don't sleep through the qualifying time. It will not work.
If you're solo, you just hit all of your hypnosises with Gengar and you gain 100 points.
Yeah. There's a lot of Gengar cheese. There's a lot of like, I saw, you know, that like Zard Gengar Conk team a ton. I saw like multiple, like that LRXC Conk team. Conk is actually a beast. I think I've definitely gained a lot of respect for it. It's like a physical beast.
Using the AV Conk Elder?
Yeah, good HP, good phys up, and then with AV has good spit F, actually like really, really good. And at least on ladder. I mean, it's probably good in tournament. And then I'm gonna transition to something else I was thinking about, which was I tried a lot of non-Stone Edge Gyarados, because traditionally I used to, or like for the past year, or maybe year and a half, I was only running like basically a really bulky Stone Edge Gyara, because Wisp, Zard, Y will just beat you otherwise with some bulk. And so I'm like, I mean, I just want to beat Zard. Beating Zard is like one of the most important things to me as a builder, so I'm gonna do that. Then I started experimenting with like fast DD taunt, and there were some pros and cons to it. Like, my hypothesis was, okay, so basically, this def Zard Y is actually useless, because traditionally it was for Scarf Karen Black Fusion Bolt and Gyarados Waterfall, but Karen Black runs like bulky Rock Tomb Haban these days, and Gyara likes to run Stone Edge. I'm like, okay, there's not going to be a lot of like bulky Wisp ones, because that's just not that useful. And I fought so many of them with my non-Stone Edge fast Gyara. Like, beating Gran was very good in the ladder. Or I'd be crucify with Speedy, DD, and then Outrage. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was great too, because I was beating other Gyara's, because other people were noticing, hey, Gyara's a ladder beast, so if you run like fast taunt, you can taunt those and then just win the mirror pretty easily. That was very valuable. I used some EQ because a lot of people that like aren't super familiar with the metagame were spamming zones, so I ran some EQ. Overall, Gyara was really good in the ladder, and I'm wondering if that's gonna lead into tournaments a bit. I don't know.
I agree. I actually have been finding a lot of success with Gyarados. One set that I've liked using is like 40 HP, 200 and something speed. It puts you at 252, so you outspeed Greninja.
Yeah, I was ready.
And then just max attack Adamant with Stone Edge. And that actually KOs Greninja. You don't have to run Outrage if you have max attack.
I was running that old like 88 HP, 88 def, and then that amount of speed and attack. But there are definitely some rolls I wish I would have gone. So yeah, there's definitely some advantages to your set.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for just like not relying on Stone Edge accuracy. So
that's what I liked the most about it, because it's just very, very clean dubs on Gren overall, because there's some Torrent and some specs, and I would just confidently click my Gyarados into both of them and then win. It was great. I didn't see a single HP Electric one, and I think HP Electric Gren is really good. I think it's very underrated because, you know, I don't know, I'm just paranoid.
I mean, Mega Gyarados, when they Mega, they die to the Grass Knot, right? If it's specs.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. One set on Gyarados that I was running is 252 HP, 96 defense, and what that does is it's really secure versus Kyurem Black, because you eat Band, you just Dragon Dance into Outrage, and then it's like kind of beating Scarf as well, because you tank 2 Adamant Fusion Bolts when you Mega. So that's like
I like
another
Stonage
common
on that
spread.
set. I like
And then
Stonage on that
just
set
Yeah.
because you're not really fast enough to abuse taunt super well.
Yeah.
So you might as well just have that reliability for Zard. You know, why not?
Yeah, I didn't run ton on this. I actually have rest on this Gyarados because I wanted it to be like there was some reason that I wanted it to be really, really solid versus Slowbro, and when you rest, you don't have to play.
Yeah,
any,
I was okay. Spoiler: I played Gohar in like a few hours for ORAS Ladder Tour, and I'm bringing a rest Gyarados with Punch.
It also just
I would have
seems like
never thought
something
about
generally
doing,
solid. Like
Yeah,
I don't know.
for Sableye as well too.
Mhm.
Rest is good.
Yeah.
I've used it on some T-Tars before. Very cool set. No, a log PO4. I think Lancer used Confide Rest Gyarados. I don't really know what that was all about, but I mean, he definitely had something in mind. He just decided I want to run Confide Rest Gyarados for no actual reason.
It's kind of like the same.
Beats
thing, like
offensive
Confide
Venusaur.
Metagross.
Easy.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a very fun matchup. I'm gonna be honest. But yeah, are we ready for my segue onto ORAS Zard?
Yeah, let's do it.
Time, boys?
Yes, I think.
Okay, so my thesis I recently came up with is that ORAS Zard is by far the most privileged Mon in any 1v1 genre. No, it is
Privilege.
absolutely insane when it comes to like the circumstances around Zard. So I'll get into it. Basically, Zard X runs DD Flare Blitz Outrage most commonly, but you don't actually really need a fourth move super bad. Like, also EVs are kind of similar. You don't really need certain EVs to beat like a lot of the matchups where Zard shines. But basically, you have insanely good like 50+% of meta matchups with just blank set with no EVs, or like, you know, I mean, you add the EVs later, but it's like 3 moves and like minimal EVs, right? That is crazy. And then when you stack on the EVs and the fourth move, you know, sub, wisp, whatever the fuck, it's absolutely insane. And Zard Y is very similar because you need Blast Burn or slash Shoulder Beam, and then the fourth move is like you know, whatever, like Toxic Sub. Sub is legit. Crucify brought that to my attention. It's very like something I didn't really think about a lot. I use it on like a few teams, but like very like this one like popular teams of mine. Just something I made. And I'm like, oh yeah, Sub Zard Y works here for Togekiss or whatever. And also, anything EV wise, you know, Zard is like a blank slate that has very, very solid matchups, both X and Y, without like any EVs or like move tweaks. Then you do those EVs and move tweaks, and it is absolutely fucking insane. So I think people need to start like pushing Zard a bit forward, like Brick Break, Endure, Wisp, like, you know, like counter bulldoze. Counter specifically, just in general, it invalidates a lot of options people like to use for Zard, aka like Kieran Black, Chomp, Lando T, sometimes Diancie, which is insane.
Sometimes Tarak.
Sometimes
Most
Tarak,
of the time Tarak. Yeah.
if you get the good rolls.
Yeah, it's like 43% chance that you live the.
Yeah.
You know, 43% chance that Terrakion kills you, but when you factor in kind of like Stone Edge crit, then maybe miss it. It's like seems like 50.
It's like stupid. It's and that's another thing I wanna add in. A lot of moves that target Zard are inaccurate. So
Well, if you're talking
say-
about counter, it doesn't matter if you miss, but yeah, I see your point.
Yeah.
But so it's segues pretty well anyways, which is like a lot of moves for Zard are inaccurate. For example, Greninja, Torrent, Hydro Cannon could just fucking miss. Rock moves are very inaccurate besides Diancie, Diamond Storm. So those Archeops head smashes of Tarax Stone Edges will be missing sometimes. And same with Gyarados Stone Edge. Same with, I don't know.
Rock Slide in general.
Yeah, even with Rock
yeah.
Slide and even Rock Tomb spam can lose against Sub. Like, it's very
Beam
sad.
as well from PZ. Like maybe a Steam Eruption from Volcanion if you get O-Code. You can dodge, you know. That's why I think Zard is privileged, because Zard moves besides Zard Y, Blast Burn, and Air Slash are like completely accurate. Zard X has Outrage and Flare Blitz, which simply don't miss. Flare Blitz also has burn chance, and it's just crazy how Zard is the accurate Mon, and then its enemies are not accurate, which is why people we were like doing that stupid discussion on like, okay, what actually beats Zard 100% of the time, and then we like came up with like, oh yeah, that DD Latios, Mega Latios set, but worked out, I guess. But having to resort to stupid ass DD sub Mega Latios to like 100% reliably beat Zard, is just fucking ridiculous. It's absurd. And then Another thing is that something on ladder that I always brought this up before the ladder. I always said Zard Y Air Slash beats this mon or this mon if it flinches, right? But just random rock types have to hit a rock move through Air Slash, which is like almost a lot of time. It can be roughly around 50-50 odds, give or take. And another thing is like, you know, Zard can also just, like I said earlier, just tech anything it really wants to. Like, for example, Crustle gets fucking flame charged. Rhyperior has like actually a really hard time consistently beating Zard. You can just get double outraged. You don't want a Rock Wrecker sub, right? So if they regular sub, all you can do is like a Rock move them, and Rock Wrecker basically loses you the game. So if you hard outrage turn 1, we have fairly good odds. James sat there for 60 seconds and then Rock Wrecked me on the ladder and kind of pissed me off. I'm known for spamming Zard, so I thought he would play around it. But yeah, you know, stuff like Rhyperior, other rock hits like Archie Ups and Track and just miss their moves. But it's kind of disgusting. And then, you know, you have Break for like Heatran and T-Tar. I was like trolling and running some Focus Punch Zards for like T-Tar, like really bulky Fizz-Def T-Tars that Break wouldn't kill. That was hilarious. It can also bulk a lot of things. It can bulk Mega Lopunny ridiculously easily. It can bulk Volcanion ridiculously easily. It's just crazy. I think this is an LRXC setter at both. I don't remember who, but it was like max HP, max Spidef, Airful Zard. It's like a really annoying moves.
Flame Charge, Belly Drum, yeah.
That set is really hard to kill with special moves. I was running a lot of Counter Zard. Counter Zard invalidates like most of the traditional checks, which is just disgusting in my opinion. So I think if people really start pushing like their Endure, their Brick Break, like Counter, their Bulldoze, you know, all these like techs, if you're like actively teching with Zard, that's just disgusting. Like, it's really hard to deal with. And you can like notice, oh hey, my opponent is actually just running the same Zard checks over and over, so let me fish for that. I think about like Mega Diancies, LRC was playing a room tour 5 minutes ago, and he beat a Mega Diancie with a Zard, counter Zard.
Yeah.
You can't really justify, I mean, you can justify depending on your opponent, you know, you Mega Protect so that you can Diamond Storm after, you know, Scout counter and, you know, outspeed Zard. But sub Zard Y actually wins there. So, yeah. It's just stupid, dude. It's stupid. I think Zard right now is absolutely ridiculous. And it's kind of like a hypothetical, kind of a non-hypothetical thing. I just think ORAS people just need to fucking push Zard forward. And I think if people do that, I think it'll be straight up broken, personally. I think it already is a bit broken now, and it can be more broken in the future because it can tech almost whatever it wants.
Do you think it's I don't think it's ever going to reach a point where it gets broken to ban it, is what
I don't
agree.
I don't agree with banning ORAS.
I don't think it's ever going to be banned. I think that's going to break, like, how the tier is viewed.
That's what makes it beautiful, is that,
completely.
like, it's, like, so good and so versatile, but it's, like, it's not like you're like, oh, I have to face a Zard. It's like, it's always fun to face Zard and play Zard, in my opinion, and it's never, like, overwhelmingly broken, like, to a point where you don't feel like you're playing the game, if that makes sense. Like, it's like really nice.
And for better or for worse, I'd say probably for better, I guess. Zard is defined, it just straight up defines ORAS.
I agree with that.
You know, there's like random tournament games with like Zard mirror, like Zard versus Zard. You know, people in the chat will be like, oh, ORAS moment, oh my god.
Yeah, me versus Crab.
But it is a certified ORAS moment. Like, I'm just gonna keep it real, that's an ORAS fucking moment right there. And I think Bea asked me a while ago, oh, what do you think an ORAS metagame would be like without Zard? And I said, it would be really unfun, Victini, Sableye, Steel spam. I don't think that meta is better than what we got now. It sounds really not fun.
I agree.
Yeah, that sounds accurate to me.
Oh, also, I was talking about how Zard is broken. I didn't even talk about set ambiguity. Being able to bluff X as Y or Y as X is absurd. There's a lot of like situations where your opponent just assuming your X and your Y just is fucking insane. It's just a Finchinator. In fact, that was the best example I'd say. Like that's like I could not craft a better example in a lab on why.
Game
ambiguity is broken.
Yeah,
basically
Finchinator. Funny game, yeah.
Okay, Finchinator versus Dez, Zard Y versus Lopunny. Des stays regular as Zard and gets faked out. Next turn, Finch low sweeps and Des blast burns and wins. Like,
Because low sweep
or gets X.
low sweep is supposed to beat the Zard X that pokes Giga Impact.
Yeah. You have Encore in the back for if they want to, whisper DD you or whatever. But also, I just fucking owned that. Y owns a lot of things to try to beat Zard, and also just comes down to like some fundamental 1v1 stuff, in my opinion. If your opponent is expecting a setup physical attacker and they get blast burned by a 159 base special attacker in Sun with I don't know, max special attack or something, that's all a very good win path. That's a very good win condition. Zard has like so much privilege that I feel like a mon like Mawile doesn't have, right? Mawile's great, but like if you're in a losing matchup, you fucking lose the game. There's not really much. I mean, you can like try to outplay with like, weird sucker stuff, but more often than not, Mawile will lose to the stuff Mawile loses to. But Zard has so much tricks up its sleeve that it is just definitely the best mon in ORAS by a long shot. It's kind of little OP right now. Could be more OP in the future, could be less OP in the future, don't know.
Kind of from a more building perspective than playing, I suppose. When I'm building teams for ORAS, I really struggle to find good reasons not to use Charizard. When I'm picking a second mon, it's not so bad. I can usually find something that's a better partner that actually covers my first guy's weaknesses. But when it comes to the third Pokemon, do you really have something better than Charizard, or are you just trying to do something quirky? Because a lot of the time, just regular Charizard with one move to beat whatever thing you need to beat is going to be your best option building. And
I would argue regular Charizard doesn't exist because it's
when I say regular, I mean it has the 3 moves it has, and like 252 EVs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of stupid that 252 has very solid niche on Zard, because 252 Jolly is great versus other Zard and kind of around that speed tier, mostly for other Zard. But 252 Adamant is a bit underrated, I'd say. It actually basically you run 252 Adamant max speed and you run sub, right? And then you just beat Venu without Drum, because I think Spadef Drum is not very consistent overall on ORAS. So basically what you do is you sub on their Charm and then 2K with Flare Boats. And that is like disgustingly good in my opinion. Because you're also a sub Zard. You don't have to go stupid ass Drum, Spadef X. Or you don't have to have to run Zard Y and maybe risk a few matchups. Just have a sub Zard X there and you beat Venu. And you beat a lot of other stuff because Adamant Zard is good for rolling stuff. Sure.
Yeah, I also really like sub Zard in general. Typically, if I don't have a specific 4th move tech, I'll just throw on Substitute.
So what sub also does is it increases the odds that a slower rock move is going to miss versus you.
Yes.
You can,
Yes.
That's
Or a
really
slower
big
water
versus
move,
an Aggron or I don't know, something like a Donphan even, just something like that. It doesn't even have to be something that's well known or specific. It's just the idea in general can pay off versus matchups you never would expect.
Yeah.
And when I first started using Subzard late 2020, I was like, okay, I have this small thing, I want to beat Togekiss, I want to beat I don't know, whatever mon. Then I'm like, oh wait, this actually has insanely practical use. 50-50 Meloet at worst. Not really, you can just click sub and always win. You have a great Manaphy matchup because you have infinite chances to just hold them out for enduring. Not infinite, you have 5.
You don't kill.
Oh, I mean, that's one Zard. If you want to kill Manaphy, go ahead and add more attack, why not? I feel like not being able to kill things is absolutely not a struggle that Zard overall has, just a few sets. Those can be tweaked if you really needed to kill stuff. Very good mon. Great mon. Amazing mon. Best mon, yeah.
Is there anything that Charizard can't tech?
It struggles with some faster sub stuff. You can run a sub Chomp, a sub Latios, Mega. There's not really a whole lot I can do about it.
Yeah, the sub Chomp is pretty solid.
Yeah. You'd have to like EV it really specifically, and then also make like some insane outplays to beat a set like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I don't think it's worth doing. But there's very few things that aren't worth doing with Zard. If you want to run a confide set for Volking on Meloetta, do it. Why not? You'll get some stuff out of it for sure. If you keep running it and get like finally run into the thing you want to run into, then there you go. It's really satisfying. See your opponent just mauled that confide Zard. I don't know. It's funny.
Okay, that's some pretty good Zard discussion. Why don't we talk about a couple specific teams? You guys all passed one.
Yes.
They all did, true.
Fortunately, Crucify was the best, so...
I did pass the best ORAS team in existence.
Alright, Crucify,
Yeah.
you want to talk about this a little bit?
Oh yeah, so it's Charizard Mega X with Metagross, Mega, and Greninja. So the thing with this team is that sets can literally be anything. Because like if you see this team on preview, it can be Zard X, it can be Zard Y, it can be any sets on those, it can be any Metagross sets, it can be Torn, Grand Specs, Grand Band, Grand. Just right off the bat, you have 3 very ambiguous Pokemon.
Yeah, I
That's
really
just
like
good.
that. I used the exact same team preview in SM to great effect. But yeah, it looks really good too.
So this is called the Derek team. For those of you who don't know, Derek IJY used to spam this team. So for this particular version that I passed, I believe it was Jolly Sub-Zard X with the Impish Metagross. Or was it the Anti-Grand one? It doesn't matter. And then it was just Specs Grand. The Sub-Zard X we talked about a lot. I won't go over that, but in particular, I just really like having my Charizard beat other Charizards. I just like running Jolly Sub. And so for Impish Metagross, it defeats Gyarados, which this team can struggle with, especially if it's the Jolly set, or just like the fast sets that they were talking about earlier. That provides safety against that, and max defense is good for Garchomp, which the team doesn't struggle with, but it's just nice. And if you run the anti-Gren one, that's your Gren answer, and you don't have to rely on the Gren versus Gren here to win that matchup. And then X-Gren is just nice. It's good versus Zard, unless you know you're tagging for it or there's Zard Y. And I like using HP Steel, so I 3-0 Carnivore. You can also run Extra Sensory, where you're more reliable versus Venusaur. And then
HP Flying is good for that too.
this is also true, and that has the benefit of beating Heracross. And I always run Grass Knot on Ice Beam, personally. Ice Beam catching Aria, bulk for it with Hyper. And Grass Knot's just good for Slowbro, and just in general, other Gren. And so, yeah. Team I found a lot of success with on the ORAS ladder. And I brought it twice in the World Cup of 1v1. One of the times it lost, but it's just really solid team.
Yeah, I really like that one.
It's 3-0 by nothing, pretty much. Overall, like those 3 months, they have no 3-0s, pretty much. Which is really disgusting. Not being able to 3-0 a team in tournament is just really bad. Like, what do you even do versus that team? You can send there like 20 variants. It's honestly that in God Squad, AK, Zard, Mawile, Gara are like the objectively 2 best teams. I don't really know why they're not samples. Honestly, they should be, but whatever.
Countercoat Blastoise 3-0s.
Oh,
Yeah, but what if you get Dark Pulse by the Greninja? Now you can't get
you
coded.
just get subbed on by Zard because
I mean, like, you can definitely tech a Blastoise to beat that Zard.
I don't really know how Blastoise beats Sub-Zard with Countercoat. Lol.
Well, Countercoat are your 2 moves, and then you've got a Water move to break Sub, and then you've got probably Sub yourself.
Running Water Pulse?
I don't know, maybe. I haven't built the set yet. I'm just saying, Blastoise can probably tech this team.
Boosted by whatever the ability is, like Mega Launcher.
Yeah.
So you can run like a Latios to like maybe like some weird like
I think
Reflect type Draco.
best thing
I
is-
don't know.
But I
The best
agree,
thing is
it is a
Volcanic.
very hard team to break on preview.
If you factor in variations, that you can do much pretty much something about it.
Really, I think the best option is to use your own Zard X to try to 3-0 it. Like,
So having your Zard X beat Jolly Sub is really hard. Like, what do you do? Or like, do you run
Rock
Tailwind
Tomb.
or Rock Tomb sub? Like what?
Hold on. BRB, I'm looking to see if Charizard gets Rock Blast.
No.
This guy was right now.
So, are we going to my team?
Yeah, LRXC. Let's
Oh, yeah.
let's go to
Yeah.
yours.
All right. So this is a team. I forgot if I brought it to World Cup this year because I kind of played like ass this World Cup.
You did.
But
you did.
I thought this is a really nice defensive core. It's Registeel plus Altaria. Basic idea is Dom preaches this a lot, but steel types are really good. I mean, yes, Zard is really good, but steel types are just steel types. They have a ton of resistances, and so I built this Registeel set that the Chesto Berry, you're a lot less crit bait, and with this HP and Spadef, you're really reliable versus Manaphy. You just Amnesia twice, rest, Seismic Toss it down. Paired it with, I love Mega Altaria. I think Cotton Guard Roost is such like an anti-BS strategy because like boosting your defense by 3 is just really nuts. Hyper Voice to break past substitute, and with Cotton Guard Roost and Flamethrower, you can actually beat a lot of Mega Mawile. You beat Mega Metagross. Like you beat a lot of stuff with this coverage, and it's a really nice solid defensive core. And then I was like, all right, I don't really like losing to Zard Y, and I don't like that Altaria is my only Charizard answer, so I made this Terrakion, which normally is banned, but I thought that sub SD could be a nice mix-up for like Endure Custat Pokemon like Empoleon. And and you still beat the things that you often want to with just clicking close combat or Stone Edge versus like Huron Black and Zard. So just like a nice solid team that I really like using.
Very notable. You dodge counter Zard as well with stuff.
Yes.
And also, the Manaphy matchup is probably improved. Because I don't think they're gonna Surf you turn 1. Because I don't think. Or
Well,
maybe
yeah,
they will
actually,
Surf you, but
I
you
actually
can
have a
Surf you.
replay. I have a replay on the replay archive thing where I beat a Manaphy because I tank Surf turn 1, I believe, and I clicked Swords Dance, and then I believe I KO'd with close combat, or I did something like that because like +2 with Life Orb is way more powerful than Band. It's really powerful, so you can get a lot of like sneaky kills that you wouldn't normally because Terrakion can tank a lot of stuff with its typing, and its bulk isn't terrible. So
I'm making a 1v1 guide right now, team building, and something I've been saying is that capitalizing off playing in a different way than your opponent expects is big. You know, the sub SD Terrak might just seem like, oh, you know, it's just a variation on band, but there's going to be a lot of situations, some that you don't even think of, where, oh wow, having this mix up actually wins me the game. Very powerful tool. Like, realize, hey, people are going to expect this, so I'm going to use this to get the job done a similar way, but also like, capitalize off people playing like, oh, I'm going to endure with my Manaphy, whatever. Should we go on to my
Mexico squad?
Hold on, I just
actually,
want to
I
ask
don't
a
even
couple
have it.
questions about this. So the Chesto Registeel is just for Manaphy? Like over leftovers?
well, the original idea of Chesto is that like I don't like sitting in front of things and getting crit. And then it's also like, for example, it's way more solid versus Manaphy because of the fact that you have the Chesto berries, so you're not just like hoping to not get crit by +6 serves.
Okay. So it's just fewer turns. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's fewer turns. It's maximizing your chances. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's take a look at the last one. This Dom's team.
Okay, basically, Adamant Lop is broken and very easy to use. Basically, what you do
I love
is you
it.
send it out, and then you fake out, and then you impact Ratio K, and then you probably win the game. You're fighting a Steel type or something, and or a Scarfer, and it struggles with Zards a little bit because Zards, in theory, they don't do this in practice a ton, but in theory, they should be bulking, or they can bulk. Fake out Giga. So
Yeah, it's
I
something
added
like max
Gran.
HP 20 or something defense, I want to say.
It's like 240 HP, 68 defense.
60.
And then,
Yeah, it's not too much.
Then Heatran is there to beat Steel types, beat some Stall, like Mew with Taunt, Helmet. Because, now that people know this team, it's going to be a little harder versus Taunt Mew. But basically, since you have no Balloon, they're going to maybe expect the choice like Specs or Scarf set. So they're going to Amnesia, and then you Taunt, and then you win. Helmet helps versus Zard X because you don't have Rock Tomb EP. Rock Tomb EP is very reliable. But the issue is that if you're only running Ancient Power, you can actually lose to like Drum Zard or just certain Zard. So you have Helmet there because Helmet actually even if you die, like say your opponent's at 10% and they kill you, a move that activates Helmet, you actually win the game because of ORAS mechanics. The Helmet goes.
Same with Garchomp's
after.
Rough Skin.
Yeah. So Helmet's a good tool for just, securing the bag on like Stoss, Mew, and Zard. And then you got last mon. I don't know why it's in the first slot, but Audino was just a random third because I'm like, oh, I lose to this mon, maybe an Audino could work. And then we actually figured out, this team was from earlier 2021, we actually figured out that Audino is a fucking beast.
Yeah.
It was like debatably B plus A minus right now, and it was like C minus before, or maybe U unranked.
I think that was the biggest revelation, like the big surprise rise of this ladder turn was like people being like, wait, Audino's like not just like a meme, like it actually does stuff.
If you don't know what Audino does, basically, Lucky Chan makes so you don't get crit, so then you kind of just sit there and PP stall. Also, this set has no attack, so you destroy other stall, like, Registeel, Slowbro, stuff like that. And it's just generally a pain in the ass to kill. Only like Sub-Zard.
It doesn't get outpaced because Baby Doll Eyes is priority, which is important.
Yeah, which is very helpful. And another thing is that I totally forgot what I was gonna say. Alright.
I was just gonna jump in and add that it's really good at mitigating RNG for a Stallmon. Lucky Chant, even if you're slower, it basically means your opponent gets like 4 or 5 chances to crit you, because you get the chance to crit the turn Lucky Chant has worn off. But in general, it just doesn't get crit. It's like bringing a Mega Slowbro. You can basically expect to just win by sheer numbers, which is kind of what a wall should be striving to do.
Very annoying Laddermon as well. I was like running some teams with not a great Audino matchup, but I'm like, Edgar's not gonna click Audino 3 times in reverse me, and then he did it and farmed like 80 elo off me, and I'm like, damn. Sucks.
Yeah, because like Lucky Chant means that you can't just like pick into it and be like, I'll just crit it eventually. Like it's like you like lose.
So basically, the overall structure with this team is Lopunny hits hard and is a strong physical attacker, but kind of frail. Heatran is like a little bulky, helps for steals and Zards, special attacker. And then Audino is a fat piece of shit that doesn't die. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that structure. I would use that team in Tour.
It's good. It's good. Easy to win with because all these mons are like pretty simple. Like you don't have to do any thinking. You just kind of click buttons and then win with this team a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the very basic looking team. It's basic on purpose, but if you're gonna use like 252s, use these instead. Go up to 301 HP just so that you can sub 4 times and also survive 3 seismic tosses versus like Chansey and stuff. Gardevoir with 240 special attack, Hyper Beam KOs Mega Tyranitar. And Magnezone with max defense gives you the best odds versus Mega Mawile. So
I will say Zone is really annoying right now because Zard has kind of dropped Wisp a lot. And killing it is just really annoying because like Custab is annoying, Specs is annoying. Kind of hard to like mid ground and beat it with Zardex. Very annoying mon.
Yeah. And a lot of Zards just aren't running Spadef, so Hyper is like not bad. You also have other options if you expect like to fight Sub-Zard.
If Sub-Zard gets attacked, you are at such a disadvantage because you have to like Flare Blitz him and take recoil.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you get T-Bolted as you sub, kind of like lose the game. So yeah.
Then they can just hype. Well, wait. Well, what do they do turn 2?
Well, as you Flare Blitz recoil.
Yeah, and Outrage locks you in. Yeah.
Custom is better for that. It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, this team's really self-explanatory. There's nothing at all fancy going on here. It's just 3 mons that actually fit together pretty well, and they're using like technically optimal sets. You can definitely tech all 3 of these sets to beat like whatever specific mon you want. This is like a good base point if you want to have like a solid core and then like counter something else.
Not huge on Zard, check Zard. I mean, John
the CEO of that.
I mean, yeah, once there's like multiple CEOs, it becomes a little weird, in my opinion. Basically, another thing that people were experimenting on ladder was a fucking Snorlax over Zone, and it's like this curse stab set, I think.
Curse, Cuff Stab, Giga, Facade probably.
Facade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good versus Zard that set.
The anti-wisp Zard.
I personally like that set a little bit more because I prefer having a good Zard matchup. But Zone is like so easy to win games with, as opposed to Lax, who's has to work a little harder.
Yeah, Lax, you actually have to make predictions. You have to be correct about what your opponent is clicking. Zone, you click the button and you win the game. It's very straightforward.
Yeah. Something I would think about this team is actually I saw this. HP Rock Zone seems really good versus Sub-Zard.
I actually really like that idea. A lot of the time, HP Ice kind of goes unclicked, and HP Rock
this
is
team does
honestly
lose to
pretty funny.
Garchomp, so there's that. What's max special attack for on bro?
How does it lose to Garchomp with HP Ice Zone?
I'm saying.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So if I were to change HP Ice to HP Rock, what I would do is just like max defense Gardevoir.
What is a max special attack for?
It's for Tyranitar. You just Oko it with.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This is interesting because I usually don't like a no Wisp guard because I feel like Wisp is just
the fourth move is literally anything you want. Calm Mind is filler. You can make that Wisp. You can make it whatever. Taunt, Encore.
And
I've even used Shadow Sneak to beat.
I really don't like guards that lose to Venusaur.
Sturdies.
So this is cool. I like it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Psychic Gardevoir. Yeah, I agree. I hate losing to Venusaur. When you've only got Hyper Voice, Hyper Beam, and you're like, oh no, I'm actually gonna lose. That's the worst. Yeah. All right, so there you go. 4 teams. That one's really basic, but I think it's good. Yeah. Any closing thoughts on these teams or on the metagame in general? I suppose.
How long have we been talking for?
I mean, we're up to like 40 minutes ish. So.
Wow. Do you want to talk about any of the LT games so far, like a series, like go over a series or not?
Not been a lot. Usually, I one was hilarious. Same with Kaif Edgar one.
That both series were pretty cool.
And like
go check out my YouTube
they're
channel.
Kind of funny. Yeah.
I'm doing live recordings of all the games that I can catch. Also, Bob.
Okay, so if there's any Zoomers still listening that don't know a lot about ORAS, this is a fantastic way to just like start getting good at 1v1 because people like to think of it as kind of a boring tier, but if you really are creative in the team builder, it will simply not be a boring tier. ORAS is a tier where there's a lot of like just fundamentals when it comes to like picking, because there's a lot of like pretty neutral matchups in ORAS because not a ton of threats, and like the mons that are like C rank are really bad. So you know, you kind of have to deal with like the top mons, and once you're ready for the top mons, you have to start picking well, which helps 1v1 fundamentals a lot. And if you start teching stuff in ORAS, they will go noticed. It will like have good matchups and like, you know, either friendlies or just tournament games, because there's a lot of even matchups, and once you have the actual edge, you can just push it into a dub from there.
Yeah, I think I have the most fun teching in ORAS. I think it's like the most fun to like try to like lure things with like different like resist berries, and like the mega dynamics of like your speed is like your base form before you even mega evolve, and there's just a lot of really cool interactions and dynamics that I think makes ORAS the best gen.
And there's a lot of like mons that can have weakness policy but also have other sets, so it can be hard for people to play around, you know, maybe a Bane Victini and a weakness policy Victini at the same time, or like a Specs Victini and a weakness policy Victini. And,
or even a Scarf Victini. Bad set, by the way.
Bad set, yeah, very bad set.
Yeah.
But I'd rather run like Pasho or some nonsense than that. But from there, you know, a lot of brass players, but yeah, there's always room for more. It's not a tier where there's too many players of it, I will say. Right now, at least.
Mm-hmm. Crucify, any thoughts?
Any thoughts? Play the ladder while it's up. It'll be up for the rest of the summer.
Wait. I have an actual discussion. We can make this brief. But my solution to Zard being like semi-broken and then in the future possibly completely broken is I thought about wanting to test the idea of unbanning Soldu, because what's a better way to nerf Zard than to introduce top tier dragon that is arguably not broken, a lot of checks, and generally a good mon, so people are gonna start losing to Zard less and have like a better go-to option for Zard.
Yeah, I
what do you
don't
guys
really have
think about
anything
that?
against freeing Soldu. I feel like
I don't think we should hard free it now, but I think there should be maybe a tournament with it, and then maybe people vote on it. I think it's a possibility. And you can always, like, if you unban it, you're like, oh, this meta sucks. You can just ban it again. It's not a big deal. Like, what you could do is maybe after like a PL or a World Cup, you can unban it just to see if in that transition period it's broken. There's gonna be some tours and stuff. So I feel like it's Zard truly gets out of hand. I don't think it's a bad idea. And yes, Latios and Latias will have good special bulk and will be strong as fuck. But I don't really necessarily think that it will inherently be a bad metagame. I feel like the meta can very much adapt to Latios and Latias will still do because Seals are really good, Fairies are really good, Scarfers are really good, Lopunnies are really good, stuff like that. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's worth testing if Zard becomes out of hand. But I do like the meta right now. I don't think we need to introduce Soldu right the fuck now. But people start running like these really crazy Zards that are just consistently beating their checks and hunters, quote unquote. That I think we should do it. You guys think LRXC and Crucify?
I'd have to look more into it. I honestly have no comment on it.
For me, I think that if it's not broke, you probably shouldn't fix it. Soldu is a substantial change, so it is gonna need a lot of testing, like you said. But an issue with like freeing Latios, you mentioned it has a lot of checks and counters, right? Those checks and counters are steel types and fairy types, right? And you know what beats steel types and fairy types? Charizard. So you can't run Heat Ran. You can't run Heat Ran because you're gonna lose. Basically, you're running Metagross Mega. You can lose the fucking Latias with Reflect type, Soldu. And, like, you're just running more mons that you lose to Charizard, basically. So it's just like, any problems that you have with Charizard being broken, I don't really think they're solved by introducing Soldu.
I mean, I think that's like something I've thought about, but I think that's more of a theoretical than an actuality. Maybe the meta shifts. Like if a top tier mon is just beating Zard, like no questions asked, maybe Zard gets worse. But maybe it gets better because Latios and Zard become really good partners. It's hard to say. I think ORAS is fine right now. We don't need to free it right now. But like I said, I can force if ORAS players are really building with it and pushing it forward and running these crazy techs consistently, and I think the meta will suck if Zard is just beating everything.
I think Soldu is a change worth trying in some smaller tour. I feel like that could be a fun meta.
Yeah. For like, just a fun tour to build in and, 'cause ORAS is definitely by far the most stable 1v1 gen and it is not even close.
Yeah, for sure.
And so there's not a lot of like people being like, yeah, we need to change ORAS right now. We need to save it because the tier is fine. I think earlier this year it was a little boring, but right now it's probably fine because there's been cool stuff people have used, and overall, we don't need to do Latios. We'll do right now, but I don't think it should have been banned in the first place, and I think that it and the dresses are just becoming OP.
All right then.
Alrighty.
Anything else?
We need a Soldu tour at some point, I think. Yeah, that's it.
True.
Okay.
All right, I guess that's gonna do it then. Big thanks to Dom, LRXC, and Crucify for joining me today. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.